Upstate Medical University in Syracuse, New York, invites you to be the informed patient with the podcast that features experts from Central New York's only academic medical center. I'm your host, Amber Smith. Today, I'll be talking about the Syracuse Medical Legal Partnership that pairs law students from Syracuse University with medical providers at Upstate to identify legal issues that impact patient health outcomes. My guests are two lawyers. Sarah Reckess is an Upstate Assistant Professor of Bioethics and Humanities, and Suzette Meléndez is a teaching professor from Syracuse University and Director of the Syracuse Medical Legal Partnership. Welcome to The Informed Patient, both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Ms. Reckess, how does this partnership work?
So in order for a medical legal partnership to work, you need to identify a medical champion who's willing to host attorneys in the medical clinic. We're very lucky to have a medical champion in Dr. Steve Blatt, who's been in pediatrics for many decades now at Upstate. We partner with the outpatient clinic, UPAC, which is University Pediatric and Adolescent Center, which is a very busy outpatient pediatric clinic in the NAPI Wellness Center, as well as with Dr. Jessica Mayer, who runs the PATCH Clinic, which stands for the Pediatric to Adult Transition Clinic for Complex Health.
So these medical champions must see a need in their patient population to have this available to them, right?
The medical providers see a huge range of patients. It's a very busy clinic, and people come in and they trust their doctors. They tell them pretty much everything because of the relationship that they have, especially around their children's health. And over time, what happens is pediatricians, they know these families very well, but they also know the challenges that they're facing on the outside. And one thing that medical legal partnerships allow is for a doctor to say, I have another resource for you. And that resource is not necessarily medical in nature, but it's a resource that's here. It's embedded with us. We all work together to improve those outcomes. And that's a really exciting service to be able to provide to the community. There's a huge amount of unmet legal needs in upstate New York and in central New York in particular. And we're able to fill that gap with our student attorneys.
Ms. Meléndez, which law students participate in this?
So the law students that are able to participate are in their second or their third year of study or the equivalent thereof, and they have to be in academic good standing. They actually opt in to participate in this clinic, and we usually get a really good group of students.
So is this sort of extracurricular for the law students, or is this part of a course? Do they get credit for the work they do?
This is part of a course. This is part of their academic load. They get credit. It's actually a considerable amount of credit given the work that they are being asked to do. It's 6 credits per semester, and it does include a classroom component.
Well, let's talk about what legal help the patients from Upstate's Pediatric and Adolescent Clinic or the Pediatric to Adult Transition Clinic might need. What legal issues might they need help with?
When we started this, we weren't exactly sure of the totality of the issues we would see, but we did speculate pretty accurately as to some. And it really depends on what the patients and their families are going through. And it also might depend on the population that semester. But what we have been seeing pretty consistently are housing issues with regard to advanced directives. And by that, I mean like people who think they might need a guardianship or a power of attorney or a healthcare proxy, something designed to support the patient in making medical decisions. We also have seen inquiries with regard to the establishment of wills and estate law, particularly from parents that are seeking to provide for their child long-term and where that child may have a disability. We also see issues of family law. We see issues with regard to domestic violence. We have seen issues regarding custody, and where there's uncertainty, what parent gets to make medical decisions with regard to that child. So some of those are the other regular ones that we've seen. We even got one case recently that involved an unfortunate situation involving human trafficking. We see a lot of different issues. There might be some others that come in the door, but those are the ones that we're seeing most often right now. And also a lot of educational issues, a lot of special ed issues. As Sarah said, these are children that are being served, particularly in the patch clinic. We see children with disabilities and other individuals that have transitioned over to adulthood. So there are issues with that, including labor and employment for young people that are now working.
Do you ever have a case that ends up going to a court in front of a judge? Or you mentioned the child trafficking. I mean, that's a crime, but do your students ever have to go through the courtroom?
The SMLP, the Syracuse Medical Legal Partnership, is structured less as a litigation clinic. But that being said, we do have cases that we're talking to the students about taking to court. So that might be a guardianship case. There are other areas outside of court where conflicts might be resolved. And I think of, for instance, the special ed cases. Those don't necessarily go to court, but you might be having a very important meeting with the Committee on Special Education that we then decide to accompany the parent to, perhaps, and advocate for this particular child. So court appearances in this particular model are limited, but not unheard of at all.
This is Upstate's The Informed Patient podcast. I'm your host, Amber Smith. I'm talking with two lawyers. Sarah Reckess is from Upstate's Department of Bioethics and Humanities, and Suzette Meléndez is from Syracuse University's College of Law, and we're talking about the Syracuse Medical Legal Partnership. Ms. Reckess, do the doctors determine whether it's a legal issue that can impact patient health outcome, or how do the students find out which patients need help?
Doctors already have to screen for a lot of different things in a clinic, especially a pediatric clinic, which covers the child from birth to adulthood and looks at all of the things that go into being a healthy child. And so what we try and do is we take that legal screening piece away from them. And how we do that is we partner by shadowing attending physicians and residents in the clinic itself. So our student attorneys go into the room with the provider and ask for permission to stay there and talk. And they get to see all kinds of different kids and meet families where they are and try and identify issues. And so sometimes while talking to a family, a student attorney will know this is going to be a legal issue. And sometimes the doctors know because they've seen it sometimes, but not always. And one thing that's really wonderful about this model is that we're in the clinic 3 days a week with the student attorneys. And so they're going into the rooms and shadowing those providers. They're also available to the provider who has questions, who comes out and says, something seems a little bit wrong here. We're not requiring or thinking that doctors are supposed to be doing this kind of legal screening. That's not really in their wheelhouse. But what we heard when we were setting up the medical legal partnership was that doctors often knew this is a legal issue. I know that this child custody is a legal issue. I don't really know what to say to my patients when they bring this to me. I don't know what resources are available, and I'm not sure that that's really the job of the clinic per se. So this is a really nice model because it allows us to work in concert together, and then we can siphon off those legal issues. One thing that we've started doing, we're hosting workshops for pediatric residents at Upstate around different legal issues to help them issue spot. And so we just held our first workshop last week, and it was around the issue of special education. So pediatric residents have a firmer handle on what those kind of cases might look like. We worked through a case together so they understand, oh, this is what I should be listening for in the clinic. They're by no means supposed to be experts in special education or any of these other legal areas. So we think that the partnership works because we're a value add for them. And what we're trying not to do is take away from the time that the patient gets to spend with their provider.
Sure, but it sounds like a really good opportunity for the students to do hands-on work that really can have an impact.
Absolutely. And there's nothing better than when you watch a student attorney walk into a room with a medical student Those are the moments that, as an educator, make me so proud of the partnership. And because what I like to see is them communicating with each other, talking about what they're seeing. You can see this professionalism that's growing between two people who are in graduate school to become professionals in their chosen field and really learning how to speak with each other and seeing each other as potential collaborators in the future. The joke around medical legal partnerships is that putting doctors and lawyers in rooms together doesn't happen very often, right? Because of medical malpractice. We don't handle medical malpractice. We don't even touch it. It's not an issue that ever comes before us. It's off the table. But what's nice is to see that collaboration work and to find opportunities for us to work together. Because the patients who are in these two clinics that we cover are people in our community who need help. And so we're providing the service in the same location.
Ms. Meléndez, how many students are in each semester?
We have the maximum number of 10, and each semester we end up filling those spots with a waiting list.
I imagine. Now, are they able to reach a solution or solve the issue before the end of the semester?
In this particular iteration, yes, it can happen where they can resolve the issue because of the nature of it. And even in those cases where they're not able to fully resolve it, they're able to impact the matter enough so that it can then be carefully transitioned to the next team and thereby achieve closure. But there have been instances where we're able to resolve the issues within a semester.
This is really interesting to learn about. I want to thank both of you for making time for this interview.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. This is pretty exciting. We get very excited about the work, so this is really nice to be able to talk about it in this way.
My guests have been Sarah Reckess from Upstate's Department of Bioethics and Humanities and Suzette Meléndez from Syracuse University's College of Law. The Informed Patient is a podcast covering health, science, and medicine brought to you by Upstate Medical University in Syracuse, New York, and produced by Jim Howe, with sound engineering by Bill Brokel and graphic design by Dan Cameron. Find our archive of previous episodes at upstate.edu/informed. If you enjoyed this episode, please invite a friend to listen. You can also rate and review the Informed Patient podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you tune in. This is your host, Amber Smith, thanking you for listening.